for me, the movies really was always about the core idea, was about the idea of a mother and a son going on some kind of journey together, where it's that moment in your life, and for some people it happens at a very young age, and for some people it happens at a much later stage of life, where you see your parents as a human being for the first time, as opposed to just this thing that raised you. All of a sudden you say, wow, this is a person, and this is a person with a life and friends and past loves. They existed long before I existed in the world, as hard as that is to fathom. And I thought that was a really interesting idea for a movie, essentially. And in the same way, there's kind of the reversal is true, that moment that every parent has, where they have to kind of, and for some it happens at the right ages, and for some it happens much, much later, but where a parent looks at their kid for the first time and goes, wow, my kid has become a full-fledged human being, and I'm no longer the person that needs to completely care. Our relationship has to evolve. And so on both sides, that was kind of the big idea behind the movie. In the original screenplay, I actually wrote a little note to the reader when I first wrote the script, and I said, as you watch Andy interact with his mother, don't judge him too harshly. Keep in mind of how you overreact to everything your own parents do, and that's the position that Andy's in here. But I always wanted to write a movie about a mother and son. I thought there was something really interesting, about the relationship. You know, I'd modeled a lot of this movie is very autobiographical, and a lot of it is about my actual mom. And I'd always found her to be a fascinating and unbelievable character in many ways. The character is my mother. I mean, and Barbra Streisand was my mom's hero. I mean, this was my mom's ultimate. My mom was a Jewish girl from Brooklyn who grew up idolizing Barbra. And so, yeah, I mean, my mom was not a person that would necessarily know a celebrity, the biggest celebrity in the world, if they walked into a room and had punched her in the face. But Barbra was kind of the end-all, be-all. So from the beginning, that was always the dream. And so great. I mean, for the first and most obvious thing she brings to any film is when you're on set, you can feel kind of the energy of a set is always really good. And even when we're really in the weeds on getting a shot or doing something, she's really just so great at kind of managing people and keeping people's enthusiasm up and making people laugh. And I think it's part of what makes her movies really successful is you can kind of feel that infectious kind of energy in the film, even though you can't see her as I can when I'm watching it on a set. There's something like wildly exciting about Barbra playing somebody this real and this kind of opposite, something we've seen her do in quite some time, and it's really, really exciting. And you need somebody that's got that kind of heavyweight presence to counterbalance it, or else the movie's not going to function. And that was what was so exciting. It's been so exciting, and I mean, I always kind of suspected it and knew it, but from the moment Seth walked into that first table read in a room, you could feel that here was a guy who was ready to kind of hold his own and go toe-to-toe with Barbra Streisand, which is not a common thing out of a late 20-year-old guy, and he's got that thing with her.